All right, I think we are live, and if we're not, we will be soon. And what we're going to look at today is the box that you see on the table, which just came in. And this is something that I paid for with my own funds. Let me go on Amazon here real quick, get that going. And you know, I figured it's a swelteringly hot day out there, so why don't we stay inside in the cool air conditioning and play with some stuff. So what we're looking at today is the Me TV stick. This is the same makers as the Me box, which is an Android TV box we've looked at before on the channel. This is their stick. And this doesn't do 4K, this is 1080p only, but it will, I think, work as a good alternative for a lot of folks who want Android on a TV that is less than smart, or one that was smart and is not smart anymore. So we got Recipe Bob, Arif Hassan, and Air 10 Pix Radio is here. Arif really wants me to look at the Atari VCS. I think he sends that chat every time he comes in, but I did not order one. I think it looks cool, I do, but I'm not sure about the stability there. Rob Hanks, he's here. Excellent. He enjoyed the HDMI dongle. This is a similar dongle. This one is a TV stick. Anthony Biacco is here. Trap Exit is here. Mr. Dragon is here. Yeah, I'm excited about this because it's a low-cost device. And what happens now, so, you know, our TVs last longer than their support time, right? So I think there are some exceptions to that rule. I think some of the TV makers have been getting smarter about turning the operating system over to others. So if we look at TCL and Hisense and Sony and many other manufacturers, they've stopped relying on themselves to make the OS for the TV. The TV gets updated from Google, in the case of Sony, or on the Hisense or TCL TVs, or some of the Android, or Amazon has their operating system on a few of these as well. And I think it's worked out better for consumers because you get things updated. And I'll give you a really good case in point. So I have a very expensive OLED TV upstairs. I love it. It's my 65-inch LG. And it's not getting all of the features that the newer TVs are getting because they don't see, there's no profit there for them. Whereas when you look at something like Android or Amazon Fire TV or Roku, you know, there's a revenue path for the companies to keep updating the operating systems on these devices. And that's why you might want something like this if your TV is no longer supported, because you'll get apps on here that you won't get perhaps on your television because it's not supported any longer. So if you got an old whatever that just isn't updated, and in some cases, the Netflix app will stop working on your television because they changed the DRM or whatever, and you're out. So what do? You don't get rid of the TV, you buy one of these. And you've got yourself a functioning smart TV, and this one shouldn't take up all that much room. Now, I've got this listed in the Amazon listing if you want to check it out. It's in my video description if you're on YouTube, and if you're watching on Amazon, you will see it right on your screen there. And this is selling for about 50 bucks. And I think what we're looking at here is a European version because it has a European plug. But I'm not worried about that because I have adapters, but also this is probably USB powered, so we'll just plug it into a USB power source. So the plan is that we're going to unbox this. I'm going to record that unboxing for the extras channel. And then, you know, we're going to plug it in and set it up and just see how it works. And what I'll eventually do is I have it set up already. It's a little blurry right now, but let me show you. I've got my TV over there. And so here, let me turn the TV on with my phone. So let's load my Roku app. So I have a Hisense Roku TV that they sent over a while back. And I should be able to, let's see, please connect to a device. Wake the device. So we're going to wake the TV up here. There we go. So now the TV is turning on. There we go. And so we'll plug this into that TV in a little bit. Now you wouldn't need this with the TV that I have, but the reason why I want to plug it into the TV is for two reasons. One is I want to test the HDR functionality on this because it does support HDR, which is surprising because it doesn't support 4K, right? That's kind of weird. But I also want to see what audio formats it supports as well. So we'll poke around a little bit with that in a second. So that is the game plan. Luke on Amazon asks, is it a 4K stick? No, this is 1080p only. Well, they say 2K, but it's 1080p. So it is really kind of a secondary device. But we're going to test a whole bunch of stuff because I want to just see how it does. The big disadvantage with this is that it doesn't have a lot of RAM. It only has 1 GB of RAM, which for Netflix and Amazon and those kinds of things, not a big deal, but a bigger deal if you're trying to do other stuff with Android. So I think a lot of the Android functionality may not be so great here because it doesn't have a lot of memory. And of course, you can't upgrade it. But you do get Chromecast functionality built in. So if you were looking to get a Chromecast, this doesn't cost all that much more, and you can navigate directly on device versus using a TV. So that is the plan there. So I'll answer a few more questions here, and then we'll get to the unboxing and the testing. How about that? So yeah, and Ethan in the chat here says that he heard it only has 1 GB. He expects the performance to be terrible. Yeah, it probably will be terrible. We'll put it to the test, though. We'll see what we can get running on here. I want to see if I can get my benchmarks to run. Recipe Bob has a Roku TV. We'd love to see channels, but they don't have a Roku client. Yeah, Roku is hard to support channels and other apps because they don't really have, every Roku channel is there's not a lot of flexibility in the programming, so you can't get a lot of the stuff that you might get on others. And HD Home Run has struggled getting a good client on there on the Roku also. Rob Hank says, I hope this will be a similar layout to the NVIDIA Shield TV. Yeah, this is going to, at least it should, look like the Shield TV because it has Android 9 on board. So it is an Android TV box, and I would expect it to be very minimal in its interface. So it should follow that process. All right, well, I think we're going to unbox this thing now, right? Let's do it. And I'm going to shoot a video for my extras channel to kind of tease this. And what I do a lot of times is to give you some behind-the-scenes info into my thought process is I put things on the extras channel to see how people respond to the unboxings. And if I get a huge amount of traffic on the unboxings, that motivates me to move that video up on the list of things to do. It's kind of interesting how that works. So I expect this one will actually do pretty well on the extras channel. I'm going to put it up tonight, and we'll see how it goes. And all of you watching will be able to say, hey, I watched him record that extras channel video live. Isn't that cool? So, all right, let's go for it. And by the way, there's a lot of discussion about the RAM in the chat room right now. And if you're on Amazon watching, there's a YouTube chat room where everyone's chatting. So if you want to go over to Amazon, everybody, I keep an eye on that one too. This is designed to be kind of the device you buy when your smart TV gets dumb again, right? It's not anywhere nearly the capacity or capability of an NVIDIA Shield. It's basic transportation. But I think a lot of people are looking for that basic transportation device. And the TiVo wasn't quite it because of some of the issues I was having with the 4K. This one, I think, is shooting for a much lower target. It's like, look, we're not going to make anything spectacular here. This is not a 4K device. There should be a lot more simplicity on this front here. All right, so let's do an unboxing real quick, and then we'll use it. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. We're doing another unboxing today of something I just bought. A couple of viewers tipped me off to these Mi TV sticks showing up on Amazon, and this is an Android TV device on a stick, and it apparently is not very big. In fact, it looks like the remote is bigger than the device itself. This is a 1080p Android TV box. It only has 1 gig of RAM. It's not going to be terribly high powered, but I think if you have an aging smart TV that's not getting updated anymore, this might be an affordable way to bring your TV up to the current status for apps without breaking the bank, and it is pretty minimalistic. So we're going to unbox it now, and then we're going to have a full review soon on my main channel at Lon.TV. Now, I think this is a European version of this device because I don't think there is a North American US version just yet. And so I don't know what it's going to cost when it is available at scale here in the United States, but I think it should be probably around $50 or so. That's what I paid for this one. By the way, I paid for this with my own funds, so no one sent this to the channel for free or anything. All right, so on the top part here, we have the stick itself. Not very big. This is it. This is the entire device. And it's designed to basically stick behind your television. So you've got an HDMI port here, you plug it into the TV, and then you need to connect up some power via USB. And there's no other port on this. So I don't know, and I've got to see if I can find the cable for this. I have one of these split cables that will allow you to bring power in and still be able to use this as a USB port. Because a lot of other devices like this allow you to plug USB devices in. But I don't have high hopes for this one, just given that it is a very low-end device. But we'll try to see if we can do more with that USB port. Otherwise, this is strictly for power. So there you go. We've got some warranty information here. Actually, a pretty decent little instruction guide for getting started. We have some more information, probably regulatory info. Here we've got a run-of-the-mill USB cable, so it's USB powered. And in many cases, you don't need to use the power adapter. You could just plug this into the USB port on the back of your TV. And I would expect this to draw not that much power at all. I'm thinking, you know, whatever USB port you've got should work with this. Here is the remote control. And as promised, it is bigger than the device itself. And the remote does have, actually it doesn't look like it has it, does it? Oh yeah, it's got a voice button here. So you have the Google Assistant, so you can do voice searches. This remote, if you've ever seen some of the cheaper overseas boxes that come in, this is very similar to what I've seen on other Android TV boxes, some of the generic ones. Not the highest quality remote, but it's passable, pretty lightweight. I hope there's batteries in here. You've got two buttons, one for Netflix and one for Prime Video. And yeah, pretty much a basic run-of-the-mill Android TV remote. And I'm guessing this is Bluetooth, given that it is going to be tucked behind your television. And it looks like we don't get batteries in here for the remote control, so I'll have to dig up some batteries before we get started. And this is the power adapter. Again, this is the European power adapter, so I could use an adapter for it here in the US because it is auto-switching between US and European voltage. But it's a standard USB 1 amp adapter, so again, plugging this into the back of your TV should be all you need. All right, so what I'm going to do now is get this thing plugged into the back of my television, and we're going to start testing it on a live stream that I'm shooting right now, and we'll have a full condensed review very soon on the main channel at Lon.TV, so stay tuned. All right, a one-take wonder on the unboxing. How about that? So, yeah, so I don't know if they've got a 4K version or not. Oh, Mastock wants to know how much storage it has. It has 8 gigs of storage. That's it. So there's a rumor, Julian says, that there's a 4K 2 gig version coming. I could see them doing that. Because I think people with 4K TVs need these also, for sure. All right. So let me, I got to go get some batteries for the remote here, because it doesn't have batteries in there. Isn't it funny? Usually they put batteries in this stuff, but I guess if you're on the less expensive end of the spectrum here, they tend not to do that. So let me go get some batteries for the remote, and then we will plug this in. And I've got a crazy system set up here today for capturing. So bear with me here, folks. So what we've got here are some batteries for the remote control. This is a Bluetooth remote through and through, so it's got no IR blaster on it. Oops. Get the batteries in there. All right, so now what I'm going to do to make this work is I'm going to plug this into an HDMI splitter I have here. Now this is going into one of my capture boards, And if I happen to get disconnected, it's because of a bug that's been rampant in the software that I use to stream. I'm using the safer of the two ways I can do this capturing, so hopefully this will work fine. And I'm just going to apply some USB power here to the side. And that's it. So now, yep, looks like we're getting somewhere. So here we got the me thing popping up already. And I will show you what we're seeing here. It's a little dim on its output, but I'm guessing that's just the opening salvo here. And then we've got our Android TV thing popping up. So Julian says the TiVo 4K is working fine. Yeah, I had some issues with the fact that it wasn't switching HDR modes properly. I do have to revisit it because I think they've corrected some of the issues that I had. So I might take a second look at it. But it just, out of the gate, it didn't leave a good impression. All right, so we're going to push this button down here. And it looks like we found the remote. And typically these things play some music, but it looks like there's no sound coming out of it at the moment. Like it is doing the, here, I'll put the audio up on camera 9 here, which is my input. And let's go to camera 9. Where is camera 9? So I'm just going to enable the audio here. I'm just going to turn it down a bit. Okay. I'm going to turn it down a little bit further. Okay, so we're going to go to the United States. And I have an Android phone somewhere over here. But I think I might just log in with my iPhone, which is more accessible at the moment. All right, so let me get this thing on my network real quick. And bear with me. And then we'll do some Chromecasting on this as well in a minute, just to see how it works. So hang on a second, folks. I'm just going to get my Wi-Fi password entered in here. All right. And we're going to go over to this thing here. Okay, so now it's going to connect to my Wi-Fi. And I'm just keeping an eye on it here to see if it's connecting. And we'll give it a second. All right, so it's successfully connected itself to the internet. And I wonder if we'll have an update or something. So Sean says the Mi Box S works better than the Mi Stick. It does, but it's also more expensive. So that's part of the, I think this is going to slot into the budget category. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Mi Box S is still like in the $70 to $80 territory. Let me look and see what it costs these days. All right, so I'm going to sign in. And I'm going to use my phone. And one of the nice things about this, I'm going to go back because before somebody grabs my code that just popped up on screen. One of the nice things about this device here is that it's easier to set these up than it used to be. All right, so I'll connect to my Google account here. All right, so now we have connected my account. We need to, of course, accept the terms of service and agree to share all of our stuff. I'm just going to say location yes for now. I'm just going to, it's up to you how you want to handle this. Okay, so now we can use the voice remote setup here. Yeah, so the Mi Box S, guess what? Guess you can get one for around the same price right now. So maybe this will be selling for less than that. Because right now on Amazon, it's selling, the Mi Box S is $59. So yeah, I don't think, so my guess is that I paid an overly inflated price for this, perhaps. Here, I'll share the, if you go and look up the Mi Box S on Amazon, I'm guessing that I probably paid too much for this because I bought mine from a third-party seller. So I think perhaps that you are correct. Although it could be that they're getting rid of the Mi Box S and replacing it with these things, and that might be why. But let's take a look real quick. By the way, I hear my UPS over there clicking. Hopefully I'm not going to lose power. I was just on my Facebook complaining about the power company. So yeah, so I'm going to put this up on the Amazon stream right now if you're watching. The Mi Box S on Amazon. It looks like it's on sale for 59 bucks. So you'll get this experience, but with a 4K device. All right, I'm just answering things blindly here. Okay, so we're going to install. Oh, good. Okay, so they remembered what I wanted to install here, which is great. So we're going to have, yeah, I'll put those on there. And you only have 8 gigs of storage on this. So you don't have a lot. Then it's doing our usual stuff here. So, you know, I don't know then what the price of this is supposed to be. And it does not support Wi-Fi 6. I do believe it supports AC. I've got the specs here. So for Wi-Fi, I'm just looking through the sheet that I printed out. Wi-Fi, it is AC. I don't know how many channels. I'm guessing it's probably 2x2 AC, which is good. All right, so now we're waiting for all of the apps to install. So give this a second. So we got Plex and 3D Mark and some of the other stuff that needs to go in. And I want to wait because all of this app installation will make this thing run slower. So that's why. So Julian says this stick is supposed to be $39.99. So I bet you when it comes to the US, that's what the price will be on this one. And to answer everyone's question, no, this is not better than the Mi Box S. This is like the seemingly budget alternative. But I essentially bought it from a third-party seller that was bringing them in from Europe. So I'm sure with their markup, they made 20 bucks and it should have been 39. And it probably does have a system update. So we're going to let these apps install, and then we'll see if there's a system update. And you cannot connect it to the LAN. It's only Wi-Fi because it's just a stick. So let's let that go through and do its thing. And while that's going, let's take a look and see if there is a system update. And we'll poke around at the settings screen here and see what is there. So let me go over to device preferences. Take a look at the display. The screen resolution is set to, oh, it's only at 720p. We got to up that. So let's go to 1080p. And OK. And what happens sometimes is that my capture hardware presents itself as at 720p, so that's something that happens occasionally. And this is not an HDR monitor either. So we got that going. You get your HDMI CEC. So we got some of that we can play with. Storage is not plentiful on here, so we've got about 5 gigs free right now. Not a lot. And let's go over to, see if we can find the system updates here. The about. System update. And it's checking now. And yes, this is like watching paint dry. Chris Allegretta has his third NVIDIA Shield. Moonlight streaming plus higher end media on it is so great, but having a cheaper option for other rooms would be nice. I agree. And that's been like kind of what we've been looking for is like, we need like a good low cost Android TV device. And if this ends up selling for $38 versus the $50 that I paid for it, then I think that would be a real this could be a really good device to fit that need. Because you can find these things, overseas usually pretty cheaply, but they're not good. There's always, what really bothered me initially was that Google had a different, I think there was a different licensing model on Android TV. So what would happen would be that you'd get like the no-name overseas box, and they would either give you the tablet interface for Android, which was terrible on a television, or you would end up with a hacked Android TV version that wouldn't allow you to use all the Chromecasting features from Netflix and a few of the others that use higher-end DRM. So that is where we're at. So Recipe Bob is wondering if I heard from Comcast. I did, and we are a go. They have apparently put some of their installs on hold because of the COVID thing, so they're, the in-home installations, so they're trying to work through that. So hopefully we'll have a good idea as to what goes on. And we'll let that go on there. So everyone's asking about price. So I don't know what this will end up costing when it's available here in the US. I'm hearing that overseas it's $38. I bought it on Amazon because it happened to, a viewer told me about it. So I was like, oh, this is good, because it looks as though it's packaged for a worldwide distribution, and I can't see them not bringing this to the US. So that is it. So yeah, this is, so and just to clear up confusion, so the Mi Box S, which you can get here in the US, is better than this because it's 4K. This is 1080p. But this will end up costing less when it gets here. And whenever I have an opportunity to get something in and review it before it hits the US market, it's always good to do that, even if I have to pay more for it. So that's what we did here. Okay, so let's restart for our update. And we will let that process, and then we'll start playing with it and see what we can do on here. And then Harry is awesome, says, do you find that Xiaomi does a good job of updating their devices? I think there's been, I have read about some consternation on the Mi Box S about its updates. NVIDIA does their updates much more frequently on the Shield, for sure. I think, and people in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they recently put out a pretty recent update. I don't know if it's Android 9, but maybe they finally got it to 8. So I know a lot of folks were waiting on that. There is a Reddit forum for all these Mi Boxes. So we'll see what it is. And for those of you who are watching, because people are coming in asking how much it costs. So if you want to know how much it can cost right now, you can go to the link and it'll take you over to Amazon. But if those of you in the chat could let folks know what the cost we think it will be, which is $38 when it's available more widely, that would be good. All right. So Yoda Gamer says he misses his Nexus player. A while back, quite a few of them had apparently bricked because of an update. I'm in that boat. I think my Nexus player still works, but I had updated it. I forgot what I did to it, but I updated it for something, and it's like, it doesn't boot up normally. So that was it. So in case you're just tuning in, we are installing an update on our stick here. And then we're going to get all the apps installed, and then we'll start playing around with it and hopefully avoid any copyright issues with YouTube, because we're going to probably watch some stuff, right? Some Netflix or something. So I'll be doing very quick shots of the screen, and then we're going to jump off. So yep, we'll just wait for this thing to finish updating here. John Moshi wants to know: do you believe these people differences between? Oh yeah. So John Moshi brings up a good point, because now what's funny is that all these different platforms are having to negotiate with all these different box makers, and Roku doesn't want this on their thing, and this one. So there's a lot of consternation right now between TV box manufacturers and these streaming platforms, and I'm guessing both parties want some kind of exchange of money to be on their platform. And if you think about it, these buttons that you see on the remote here, I'll give you an overhead just so I can make my point more clearly. So Netflix and Prime didn't get on this remote for free, right? They had to pay for that, or they had to work out some deal to get that on the remote. And now we're seeing Roku having some issues with, I forgot who they were fighting with, whether it was NBC or the Peacock. AT&T, of course, owns HBO. And I have this problem because, I have a free Apple TV Plus account, and you cannot get Apple TV Plus on the NVIDIA Shield. You can get it on Roku, and you can get it on Fire TV. I have an LG OLED TV that runs the LG operating system. I get all the stuff on that, except Apple TV Plus doesn't work on the LG TV upstairs. It's on the newer one, but not the older one, right? So there's always these things where I've got to keep an extra box around to be able to get everything. And it's frustrating because there's stuff I want to watch. Like, I haven't watched that much Apple TV Plus stuff because I don't want to have to use a different box for that, right? It's just a pain in the butt. So it's not getting, and there was an issue earlier where you wouldn't have found Prime Video on an Android device. It was only on the NVIDIA Shield for a while because Amazon and NVIDIA had made a deal. It wasn't available anywhere else on Android until Amazon and Google worked out their differences. And for a long time, the Fire TV did not have a legit YouTube app. Now it does. Oddly, though, the Fire tablets still don't have a legit YouTube app. So these battles are still going on, and it is confusing. All right, so we are installing apps here. So Plex is on here, and I think there's more coming in. Let me check my Google Play Store here. I can tell you, though, this feels super sluggish, and I think it's probably due to the fact that it's not very powerful, but it's also probably because it's downloading apps right now. So Fernie Lopez says HBO and Peacock are the ones who are having issues with Roku. Right, so HBO Go is going away. And incidentally, so here, let me tell you my HBO Go story, because HBO Go doesn't work with the NVIDIA Shield either. HBO Now does, so I do have that because I have HBO through my cable hookup. But what I have been doing on HBO prior to HBO Now becoming available is while my Shield could not run HBO Go directly, I could put it on my phone and then Chromecast it to the Shield. It's so ridiculous, right? It's like, why do I got to jump through hoops to watch stuff that I'm paying for? So it is just nuts. So let's see what's going on here with my apps. And by the way, this is what I go through every time we set one of these things up. This is why I have Jake on the payroll, because this takes so much time to get all this stuff installed and get everything going. So I'll let this stuff install. By the way, I have a friend who gave, and I haven't, Brian's watching, he gave me a MasterPass account, because I guess if you were a paying subscriber, you get to give an account away for free. A friend of mine let me have his free account, and it's great. There's some really good content on there. So I'm looking forward to spending more time with Masterclass. Chris Allegretta says, sounds like you said HBO ghost story. Not being able to watch stuff you subscribe to is indeed spooky. It's an issue. Yeah, we're just waiting for all these apps to install here. So I've got a couple of games, some emulators. We'll put on, what we'll do before we close out, if we have time, we'll put in, whatchamacallit. Why is my memory so bad today? here. All right, say we're back. I am so frustrated, and the only reason why I'm not like getting more frustrated is that, here we go, I think we're back now. The only reason why I'm not getting more frustrated is the fact that Comcast is trying to fix my problem, and they're doing so by getting me on their Gigabit Pro. So I'm going to be nicer to them today because they actually are trying to help me out. Granted, I'm going to be paying like 3 times as much for my internet, but I'll be getting a much more stable connection. So hopefully within the next, I would say the next 60 days, I think is when we're looking at this to be fixed. And when that happens, we'll have a direct fiber connection to this location, and that will resolve a lot of these issues. So Josh S. on Amazon says, thanks for the great content. I got a Plex server set up. Awesome. So yeah, Plex is good stuff. All right, so now we got to do all the updates for all the built-in apps here, and we'll get that going. And we'll let that run out here. And typically on the Android TV, this stuff happens in the background, but it's that initial install where you've got to get all this stuff going here. It takes a while. Hank Truck says I should say abracadabra 3 times. That's what I'm going to do. Hopefully it comes back. I think what happens here too, so right now where I am, it's like, it must be like 85, 90 degrees outside. And I think when the summer temperature gets to where it is, there's interference on the wires. And I've been, just because of my problems, I've been going out as I walk the dog. I walk the whole neighborhood all the time. I've been able to figure out where my signal's coming from. And I am like way down the line on this stuff. So it's not as bad on the downstream because the downstream is easier for Comcast than the upstream is. Because the upstream, you're sharing, you know, a local loop with everybody in your neighborhood all transmitting at the same time. So on the downstream, Comcast controls the transmission, right? Because it's coming from one place. Upstream is coming from multiple houses. And on one of these nodes, you know, they have to balance the number of customers on the node. So there's just so many customers on this node. I'm in a spread out area. It's not, I'm kind of like in a rural suburban area where we're not quite rural, but we have like 2-acre subdivisions, a very spread out small town, and I'm in the woods. So I'm estimating that there's probably, I don't know how many homes, a lot of homes on one node that I'm on. And I counted the number of amplifiers from where I think my node is to where I am. It's a lot. So I think that's what our problem has been all along, that it's just keeping that interference down to the point where they can maintain a steady upstream connection. And you wouldn't notice it when you upload. You know, if you lose a packet or two, like no big deal, right? That's just how it works. But this being, you know, the streaming process is so much different because every packet has to arrive. And when you have a little hit of interference that knocks, you know, 50, 60, 80 packets out, who knows how many, it throws off the whole stream. And it could be that it works fine until one of the neighbors down the street starts uploading something, right? So like, who knows like what the trigger is? Because we have some streams that work fine all the time and others that don't. And this is the problem when you rely upon analog cable. It is prone to interference. Whereas a fiber optic cable, if it's being delivered directly to your house, is a very different technology. It's either, you know, it just doesn't have interference. It has other problems, I'm sure, but not that. So that is what we're looking at. And Greg M says, yeah, he can affect amps in overhead cables. I think that's exactly what's going on with this, no question. But what I did do yesterday is I redid my entire equipment closet in there, and I put in a rack because all the stuff they're bringing in for this new connection is on racks. And I ordered the UDM Pro. Actually, they're sending me one. I ordered it from them. The UDM Pro router, that's going to go on my rack in there, and I'm going to have the Comcast connection in there as well. So it's going to be kind of nice. The cable management is horrible, but it'll look good. Now, what's interesting is that, and I'm just looking at one of the comments here, SC Scout Guy says that he called Spectrum and asked them where his node was, and they gave him the whole map. Wow. Yeah, what's funny is, and I don't know what they do to put these networks together, but there is a node, like right at the end of my street, but that's not the node I'm on. Isn't that weird? Like I'm on the other node, like all the way down the way. And I think if they were to put me on that node, it would screw up the whole neighborhood. So, and then we had something really crazy happen the other day. A tree came down and it took out the fiber optic cables. And then it knocked out both the nodes that were being fed by the fiber optic that was coming through. They had to run all new cable. And I said to him, I said, you guys should run my Gigabit Pro today if you're here already. And then the crazier thing was, so they're working on that, right? Tree falls down. And then around the corner, this car whacks right into a telephone pole. Like not even nearby, but within, in the neighborhood. All right. Okay, so we're going to let this thing finish off here. Almost there. And then we can start playing around with it. Because if you try to do like benchmarks or something while it's updating, it's going to be a bad result. And the other thing is that this has only got 1 gig of RAM. So I think we've got to kind of limit ourselves to one thing at a time. Willie Banks is a new viewer to the channel. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Leonardo is here from Brazil. Ives Matthew wants to know differences over the Mi TV. So the difference between the stick and the regular Mi box is that this is 1080p and the Mi box is 4K. So this is kind of the budget. This will be the budget offering when it's available. Greg M says he watched the guy splice the fiber into the basement. That's got to be a cool process. I'm looking forward to that when they come and bring it to my house, because that's a dark art to me, how they make that work. Like, how do you do a split on fiber? But it happens all the time. It's amazing. Eric's Variety Channel took the outage as an opportunity to get some food. You haven't missed much because we're still updating here. The good news is, this is what's great about this era. So if you went to a television executive and said, hey, we're going to have a channel all about technology, and we're going to have these streams go for 3 or 4 hours, and you're just going to watch like stuff update on screen, like they would run you out of town. But right now there's 400 people watching this thing update. Perhaps it's just the anticipation of what's going to happen after it's done updating. Maybe that's what it is. So I'm appreciative to all of you tuning in. So thank you. Nikolai Hansen says, I really enjoy your videos as explained in a language of common sense. Thank you very much. One bag travel. Cats and dogs living together in Lon's neighborhood. Yeah. We have a nice neighborhood here. Recipe Bob says the fiber stops at the end of his road, so he is out of luck. That stinks. And Eric's Variety Channel says, I'm so old I remember when 1 gigabyte of RAM seemed outlandish. I remember those days too. I remember how much RAM cost because, so I'll tell you a funny story to date myself. In 1995, when Windows 95 came out, my computer had 8 megabytes of RAM, and that was a lot for its day. But to go and get another 8, I mean, the RAM costs more than its weight in gold, just to give you an idea of how much it costs to bring it up to any reasonable number. And I remember when Windows 95 came out, this is now a defunct store, but the local CompUSA, was about an hour away, not so local. Local CompUSA did a midnight opening, and I have never done a midnight anything before, but I went to this because, first of all, I was excited about Windows 95, believe it or not, because it was so much better than 3.1, especially for internet connectivity. But the other reason why I went there was that they had a special offer on another 8 gigabytes of RAM, I'm sorry, 8 megabytes of RAM. So I was able to bring my computer up to 16 megabytes for very little money, and that was a big deal and worth staying. All right, we're back. So John Moshe wants to know, am I going to film the Comcast? See, that's the other thing. I don't think Comcast likes the bad press of the fact that every time I go live, this is what happens to our to our broadcast. It goes out. I'm going to just try to connect up my my keyboard real quick here. So this does have Bluetooth support, and I'm just going to here, let's see, add accessories. We're going to add a Bluetooth keyboard, and I'm going to take my, so I've got my, I love this keyboard, by the way. I've had this for so many years. This is the Logitech K830, and this supports Bluetooth, and it supports the dongle, and it's backlit. And what's funny is that this one is better than their recent home theater keyboard that they came up with. And I'm just going to select the K830. It's going to pair up. And what's nice is you got an integrated trackpad and a keyboard that's backlit. All right, I'm going to type in 453732, enter. And it's searching for accessories. I think we're good. Okay, so now we're back out. So now I've got a functioning mouse here, so I can hopefully navigate this a little bit better. So let's go back to here, and we'll see. I'm trying to see if we can get anything to run on 3D Mark. Part of the problem is that it's not working with the slingshot test, which is unfortunate. But I'm going to try to force it, because I think it can work with it, but it just doesn't want to. It says it's not supporting it. Although it could be that the lack of RAM on here is why we're not able to run the test. All right, this might be back now. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's see how much longer we can stay on for now. Yeah, it's one of those days. I think it's, I'm guessing it's the heat outside that's impacting the amplifiers on the street. I have called them and called them and called them, and it never gets fixed. So the only hope is that they can accelerate this installation of Gigabit Pro, and that will solve all of our problems. But there you go. Andy says he was worried he may have to talk to his wife. Oh my goodness! Yeah, I'm glad I could help bail you out of that. So, in any event, while you were waiting, I decided to start playing around with some other stuff. So I have installed the HD Home Run app on here. So let's jump over to Live.TV, and I'm gonna have to be careful about this because this is where I get into trouble on the copyright stuff. So if we get knocked off YouTube, it may not be Comcast's fault. It could be what I'm watching on TV. I am noticing some issues right out of the gate with this because it's having a hard time keeping a stable connection, and I'll show you here. So let's pull up. This one's totally going to get me in trouble. Oh good, commercial's on. So this is my local CBS affiliate, and this would be what you would experience when you're pulling something in over the air. So this is MPEG-2 1080i. The good news is that it's doing the deinterlacing properly, so that's good. And it's actually, it seems to be working okay now. So this is over Wi-Fi, and this is where if you didn't have AC Wi-Fi, you would see a lot of issues. But this is looking pretty good. So this is not bad. But again, you want to make sure that your device has a good Wi-Fi signal to get what you're seeing here. And it's entirely possible that people who are in the house who might start using the Wi-Fi heavily, that might impact your performance here. So, without any other stuff competing for Wi-Fi where I'm currently seated, and the Wi-Fi access point is like right over there. It's like right next to the device here on the ceiling. We're getting good performance here, but your mileage might vary with that for over-the-air stuff. So thank you, Eric, for your super chat contribution. Very nice of you. I appreciate all of your concerns about my plight here. So yeah, this seems to work pretty nicely for an HD Home Run box. Not bad. Again, it's going to vary, like I said, so you might have issues if your Wi-Fi isn't so great. And a lot of times too, with if you have the device kind of tucked behind the TV, that could create issues. So I really strongly recommend that people, instead of hooking up to Wi-Fi, to use Ethernet with a device that has Ethernet on it, especially for this. Now, what I'm going to look at real quick here. By the way, if you have not watched this show, Unidentified on the History Channel, this is not like their usual UFO stuff. This is like, you got to watch this. And I'm going to try to do, not tomorrow, but I'm going to do a wrap-up soon about all this recent UFO stuff, because this has been one of the best shows for this topic, because you've probably been hearing about the New York Times doing stuff. There are unidentified aircraft here in the United States and in other parts of the world that are violating airspace, and U.S. airspace in this case, and most of the time military operations. Nobody seems to know what they are, and they're real. They don't know what they are. They could be, this could be China or Russia or maybe one of our own things, but it's real. And this show is by the people that made the New York Times story from 2017 possible. They're former military intelligence people. They're legit. And for some reason, the lead singer of Blink-182. But no, I kid you not. But they've been doing some great work. And this season is all about former military officers talking about experiences with unidentified things. And there's a lot of consistency over what they experienced. And this is off my DVR locally. Look how fast that loads. I mean, that's nice. So that's good. I'm happy with this. So this is not bad for HD Home Run performance. But again, your mileage is going to vary based on your Wi-Fi connection. So that's something to keep in mind. One Bag Travel, thank you very much for your super chat contribution. Thank you for your full disclosure as well. Viral Sparky is here. Does the device get hot? Is Rob Hanks' question. Yeah, it's a little warm. It's not bad. Not too concerning. It actually feels like it's pretty hollow inside. So I think but there's no vents on it. But it does get warm, but not concerningly so. And the box, my splitter heats up a little bit also, so that might be contributing to it. But it's not bad. Is it faster than the Amazon stick? Well, unfortunately, I can't give you a measurement as to whether or not it is faster than the Fire TV stick. I'm going to say it's hard to say. It feels the same to me, but I think the specs of the Fire TV stick might be a little better. And I'm comparing this to the 1080p version because this is because there is a Fire Stick 4K, which is more powerful than this one is. All right, so HD Home Run was good. Let's take a look at Plex. Let's pop into there. And I got to log into my account on this thing, I think, so give me a second on that. Sheepy says, I wish there was a smart TV platform that is not constantly downloading data before I use any of the apps. Yeah, that's one of my issues with this stuff is that I am often, for a lot of times I'm not using this stuff a lot. So case in point, like my Xbox. So I'm doing something, we're actually going to do a stream with my Xbox in a little bit, not today, because I got a device that I want to test on it. And my Xbox, I never have time to really play with it because the kids and I have been doing a lot of Nintendo Switch. We have like maybe half hour a day that we play Animal Crossing or something. And so we are constantly I'm constantly having to just wait for updates whenever I boot the Xbox up because I boot it up like maybe once a month. And there's always so much stuff that has to get downloaded to it that I never actually play anything on it because it's just updating. All right, so I got to log into my Plex account real quick. Bear with me for 1 second. Oops. Wrong thing. Hang on a second here. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm just getting Plex going on this thing. And I got the wrong password. Let's see. There we go. Okay, that's what I was looking for. And we'll redirect and type in the code. And what I want to try on Plex first is one of my Blu-ray MKVs. I do not expect my 4K ones to play, nor would I try to, because this is not a 4K device. But I do want to see if it will work with the Blu-rays. And there's no reason why it wouldn't. So bear with me for 1 second here. And in full disclosure, Plex is a sponsor here on the channel, but I use this all the time. Go back to our knee stick on the thing here. All right. And by the way, Plex has free TV channels now. We did a video about that the other day. All right, so let me go and pick out a movie real quick. What I need to do is create a separate library for my 4K stuff versus the other stuff. So here, let's do batteries not included real quick. So this is a 1080p Blu-ray rip. So I don't do any transcoding or recoding or whatever. I don't do any conversion. I just dump them. And that way I have all my movies on my NAS and I can push a button and get the full quality. So I'm going to play this back here real quick. And again, I've got copyright issues I got to be mindful of here. So I'm going to play this. And let's resume from here. And what we'll do is just make sure that it's not transcoding. And I don't believe it will. And this is a hard thing because, remember, Blu-rays, especially 4K Blu-rays, are going to totally saturate your Wi-Fi connection. So if your Wi-Fi is not like super pristine, you're going to have issues. So this is probably not going to be like a home theater device, right? So yeah, it looks like it's playing back just fine. I can't show it to you right now, but it's working fine. Yeah, it looks good. So what we'll test in a minute, though, is I want to hook it up to the TV over there, which is, the shot's blurry. It'll clean itself up in a few minutes. So before we wrap up, I'll hook it up there and just see how it's going. But it's good. It's here. I'll show it to you really quick, just enough so you can see that it's playing back smoothly. See? That's a 1080p Blu-ray. Nothing on it, so that's good. And hopefully the robot didn't detect that short stream of video. Gary Johnson, you must have logged in. Yeah, you must have just got in here. We were struggling with the connection for the last 20 minutes, and it just suddenly started working better. So I'm not sure what they did. Maybe they heard me complaining. All right. So Mr. Chan W wants to know, does this work as a Chromecast? We're going to try that out right now, as a matter of fact. So let's try the best test, I think, for Chromecasting is Netflix. So because it does, they have all the DRM in there and everything else. So we're going to go and let me just back out of here, and we'll keep it on the main menu. And what I'm going to do on my phone, because I have Netflix on here, I'm going to hit this, and now I have a whole bunch of stuff I can connect to here. But I have Me TV Stick on my list. I'm going to click that, and you'll see now that it's becoming a Chromecast device. And this is loading up, I believe, the Chromecast app, not the native app. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Oh, wasn't that funny that it loads the app up like that? But it shouldn't require a sign-in because I am already, oh, it said it failed. So I have to sign this into the Netflix account first. So let me do that real quick. So I guess it is booting up the Android version of the app. So bear with me, we got another app to sign into. By the way, that's another thing that Apple does really well, is that they store your account credentials now for all these services. And you just have to boot them up and you're there. Because right now I'm having to type in my email address and my password, which I always forget. And do that. And next. Hang on, I got to look up my password. I use LastPass. And LastPass is great for securing yourself. The problem is that it's not good when you're trying to type your password in with a remote control like this. That becomes difficult. Let's look and make sure I didn't miss any chats here. So I am missing a lot of chats. I'm sorry for everybody. I'm trying to keep track. We got a lot of people in. We got 525 people in right now, so that's pretty good. So what I'm doing right now is just looking up my password for Netflix on my phone because I always forget what it is. All right, and I need to type this in real quick, so bear with me. Okay. I mean, if you ever got my password, you'd see how much Star Trek I watch. You know what's funny is Star Trek: The Next Generation is like comfort food for me. So if I'm having a bad day or something, I turn on Star Trek. Watch a little Captain Picard doing his thing. All right, so now I'm logged in. So let me back out of here. It was kind of weird that it was asking me to log into Netflix because I don't obviously on a Chromecast you don't have to do that, but I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to work on Android TV. So we'll see. All right, so I'm going to reconnect here to the Me TV stick. It is finding it on my list of stuff here. And I'm just going to click on the Star Trek episode I was watching here the other day. Yeah, it seems to be working. So Chromecast, no problem. That's funny. This is one of the best episodes ever. This is the Inner Light. I was trying to get my daughter into Star Trek. I'm not succeeding. I did get my wife into Star Trek briefly, but she liked the Borg episode. I showed her the cliffhanger, and of course, by the time she watched it, the cliffhanger was both parts were available. I had to wait that whole summer. You know which one I'm talking about. when the Borg captured him, and they end the season with Riker, like ordering the fire upon the Borg cube that he was in. And it was so anticlimactic because the following, when the season begins again, like the beam didn't do anything. All right. Okay. I'm just looking through all the comments here. So yeah, I think from a media playback standpoint, this seems to be working okay. I'm not seeing anything that concerns me. So what I want to do is, and I got to do some more stuff with this offline, right? I mean, there's a lot more to do with it, but for the review. But I mean, the basics here, like this seems to be working the way it should work. So that's been good. What I want to do now is I got to figure out a way to shoehorn some ROMs onto this thing. So what we're going to do is I need to grab, how am I going to do this? I'm going to have to grab my friend Elias Saba's app called Downloader. And then I have a bunch of APKs sitting up in my cloud. Because I have a Synology NAS device, and I use that to transfer stuff to these devices. And it's never a simple process, unfortunately. So what we're going to do is go over, and I have to install two things, because if the app is not, and by the way, having a keyboard attached via Bluetooth makes all the difference. So we're going to install Downloader real quick. And if you're not familiar with Downloader, my friend Elias Saba wrote this for Fire TV devices as a way of getting apps to install over the internet quickly. And I am pretty sure, I think I have a short URL set up here for DS file. Yes, okay. So I'm going to open this up. And what I'm going to do next is install DS file on here. So we're going to go, oops. And what this will do is this will go out and download the DS file APK that I have stored and then install it. It's a great little app. And I've got to go to settings here and disable the unknown apps. I guess we're going to allow that. There we go. I will give them this much. They made it simpler to install this stuff now. So we'll install this. So then what we'll get is the ability to load up DS file to connect to my NAS, and I can grab a couple of ROMs that we can try out. And what I will also do, I can just open it up right here. So then I can connect to my NAS box, which I'm going to do. And that's why I think when you're playing with Android TV, having a keyboard attached makes life so much easier. All right, so now, and this is an older version. I regularly upload this to my web server just so I have access to it. And I'm just going to grab a couple of ROMs to try a few things out with. Because I always like to see how it does with on the gaming side, right? And I think we're good there. I'm just going to log into my NAS real quick, grab a few things, and we'll try some stuff out. So I'm positive that we shouldn't have an issue with like the Sega Genesis stuff, but we will grab a few Genesis games just to try it out. There's no way that this is going to run the GameCube stuff, so we're not even going to try that. There's just not enough RAM on this thing. But I'll grab like Sonic the Hedgehog, which is a good all-round thing here. So let me just pull that on here. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just looking on a screen here to grab stuff. All right, so we're going to grab that one. Oops. I'm going to say download. And we're going to go up to the download folder. Let's throw it in there. And then I'll download. So we'll grab that. And then I think we might grab we may have a shot, and I have it installed on here, we may have a shot at some Dreamcast. I highly doubt we can get a Dreamcast game to work, but why not try? So I've got Virtua Tennis here. That's the one I usually like to play around with. And by the way, this is 700 megabytes for this one game. So we only have like 5 gigs of space, more or less, even available on this thing. So it's not going to be a very robust emulation device. But if you can play some classic games on there, it might be worth trying. All right, let me see if I'm missing anything here. Yeah, so there's also some comments about using USB sticks and stuff to transfer data around, and that works when you have the ability to plug in USB. This just has a single USB power connector on it, so we don't have the option to just plug stuff in like that, but it does support Bluetooth, so that helps. And we're just waiting for that disk image to download. And then we will load up, we'll load the Dreamcast emulator first and just see how that goes. And it does support Bluetooth game controllers, so you could plug a Bluetooth game controller in, that you could do. And we'll let that finish. And we're going to do one more Plex thing in a minute. We're going to hook it up to my other TV over there. Joseph is asking about Nintendo 64 games. Yeah, we could try one out. I don't think it's going to do very well at that either, just because you just don't have a lot of RAM on this thing, nor the processor. What has it got for a processor? It's an A53, so maybe it's yeah. So it's got a Cortex A53 quad core. So it is possible. Let's see if it does how it does with GameCube. But I'll grab a Nintendo 64 game and throw it on there too for the heck of it. What's everyone's Nintendo 64 emulator of choice these days? Let me know. And let's see if I can find my Wave Race. Here it is. I like Wave Race. It's a good all-around thing to test out. All right, so we'll download that real quick. And we'll jump out to the home screen. Make sure that thing is done downloading. Yep, we're good. Okay, so let's go and do that. And I'll grab RetroArch also, and we'll throw that on here. And so let me show you what I'm working on here. We'll go to search. I'm spelling everything incorrectly. Try it again. There we go. And we'll throw that on here too. Okay. I think we have to download the emulation cores on here too. And it wants me to install a gamepad. Do I have a Bluetooth gamepad handy? I must have one somewhere. Let me go find a Bluetooth gamepad. Oh, my legs. I've been sitting for too long. I took like a 3-mile walk with the dog this morning. And I usually do that once a week, but I haven't done one in a couple of days, so I'm a little sore today. Let's see. Where did my Bluetooth controller go? I've got a million of them. So does this one have any power? Let's see. So I've got my little 8-bit Do controller here. Yeah, it's still got some juice in it. Let that install, and while that's going, I will go and install get the game controller connected. So many things to do, everybody. See what I mean? That's why, you never see me do this part, because it takes so long. So we're going to just pair up the game controller now. Go back out to our settings. Yeah, and so it's getting real sluggish right now because it's installing things while I'm navigating. So that's doing stuff. We're going to add accessory, and it should. There it is. Pairing up. we'll say pair. And we're good. Just gave me a little nudge. I haven't charged this thing in forever, so I don't know how. I may have to plug it in and get some juice to it in a few minutes, but we'll see how long it goes for. All right, so let me go back over to. Oops, I'm just going to load up the MD EMU because it's so fast to load up, and we'll just see how Sonic the Hedgehog does on it. So we'll go over. Why isn't it on the list? I installed it. There it is. Okay, they put it down in the game section. I'm just going to do this one first just to load up Sonic the Hedgehog because it's like so much quicker than the other one. So we'll go to download Sonic the Hedgehog. And let's see. Now I'll turn the audio on here. And let me turn the volume up a little bit. Yeah, it seems to work. Let's hit the start button here. And this is like, you know, I'd be surprised if it didn't do this. You could run this on the first generation Raspberry Pi also. Yeah, seems to work. 60 hertz, all good. I'll tell you though, I don't want to sound like an FPGA snob right now, but when you are so used to playing on the FPGA stuff, like the input lag is noticeable now on this. But Android devices are never good, especially on Bluetooth. And I guess you could do the run ahead on RetroArch, but on here, forget it. I mean, you just don't have enough RAM for that. Remember, we got a gig of RAM, that's it. Which used to be a lot, but not anymore. All right, that seems to work. Okay, so we're good there. So we know that works. So now what we'll do is we'll go into RetroArch and we will take a look at the N64. Whoops. Remote's not the easiest to navigate here. And we'll see how we do there. So Tom Brown wants to know, what Sonic game should I get as a total newbie to Sonic and Nintendo game? Well, I would say you start with the first one, because I think that one was great. I think all three Sonic games are really good on the Genesis. They did not transition well to the new, well, they changed the whole interface here, didn't they? All right, so let's see if we can, okay, so I found the 8-bit-do controller. I'm trying to figure out here how I can navigate. Yeah, let's just do this, load core. So nothing's working here on the controls. My mouse is here, but it's like frozen. And it was doing stuff also, so I'm not sure if it's confused as to what should be controlling it. And it could be that this thing is just dying. Oh, just dropped me out. Let's see. Browse for libRetroCore. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now we're working. Okay, so now we're going to go up to the main menu, and we need to install a core. So I think what we have to do that is download a core. I haven't used this. You know, believe it or not, I'm an emulation guy, and I have not been playing with RetroArch. I've been so focused on the FPGA stuff, I just missed out on all these recent developments. So let's find the Nintendo 64. So I'm going to rely on all of you to tell me which of the current cores is your favorite for the N64. So I totally missed that section there. So let's go DS. Where's the N64? They must have like put it down lower here. Where is it? It's a lot of SNES stuff. Because here we go. All right, so is it the MuPen one? Is that one everyone uses, or do they use the Parallel N64 one? Looks like Parallel I is the one everybody likes. Okay, so let's put that one on here. All right. And I'll install the other one for good measure. Why not? Okay, so let's back out of that, and we'll go to load core, and we will select the parallel one here first. And we'll load content, and we'll go to downloads. Oops. And we'll grab it out of this directory here, and we'll see what happens. And I haven't done any settings or anything, I just kind of put it on. Yeah, it's starting to slow down a bit. Not bad, though. Yeah, you know, it's not bad. Yeah, there's a little bit of audio. You can hear the audio kind of breaking up there a little bit.
Select your watercraft, please.
So we had got my brother a Nintendo 64 back in '97 when it came out.
Warm-up time. Follow that dolphin.
And it was hard to get one. Here, let me show you what it looks like here. I'll put it up on screen for you. Oops. Yeah, not bad. I mean, it's playable. The audio's like occasionally breaking up. But this game really blew me away at the time. I thought the weather mechanics were really, really cool. Yeah, you can play Nintendo 64 on this.
Press up and down on the control stick to lean the right or forward and
Not bad for a gig of RAM, everybody. I'll give you that. So that's pretty good. All right, so how do we get out of here? Oops, I just killed it. Well, it answered the question at least. So let's take a look at the Raycast emulator. This one I doubt will work well. Tom Brown says, must have felt astounding. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, you know, what was interesting was that the PlayStation was already out. And I think what worked on the Nintendo 64 stuff was the fact that hang on a second, I'm just trying to find the way to load these games up. I think what worked on, I'm sorry, I'm just looking for my file that I downloaded. Huh, it's not seeing the, oh, select system directory. Okay, select the current directory. Okay, let's load that up. Oh, that's right, I gotta get the BIOS on here. I haven't loaded this up in a while either. Okay, bear with me, folks. I gotta go grab the BIOS here. What I think the Nintendo 64 had going for it was the fact that, oops, hit the wrong button. This remote, I'm pushing buttons on it by accident all the time. What the Nintendo 64 had going for it was the fact that it was, oh, I have to find a way to get that app open again. The Nintendo 64 had the cartridges, so it didn't have the load times. And that was one of the advantages of it. And this is overkill. I'm installing this again just because it's easier just to install it again and load it versus not. I got to get the BIOS installed on there. Yeah, this could do pretty well. I bet you it would probably do the PlayStation just fine as well. All right, we'll load up that real quick. And then after I try this, what we'll do is we'll hook it up to my home theater receiver over there, and we'll see what kind of audio it can pass through. Because that's the other thing I want to check on this thing is that. All right. So I was navigating an app that's not designed to be navigated on a television. So that's what's funny about Android TV is that it will let you install non-TV apps, but it doesn't make it easy. They make you work for it a little bit. So I just have to grab my back out here. We haven't tested in a while. And we'll just download that. Okay. That'll just take a second, and then we can pop back in. Oops, did we lose this again? Nope. And it happens all the time. And they finally just agreed that I should have the Gigabit Pro now. So I'm like jumping around there a little bit. Okay, there we go. AH makes a very good point that this is a Chinese company making devices running with Google's software that is banned in China. I know it is kind of odd how international issues sometimes are rendered irrelevant because of business concerns, right? Okay, so let's go over, I just got to find the directory setting here for the BIOS. And I just need to put those files in there. They changed the whole interface on me since I last used this, so that's part of my challenge here. So let's go over to, all right, we'll set this as the home directory. All right, needs to be, you know what? Please put, okay, move the, I don't have the right files installed to move things around. We'll look at the Dreamcast a little bit later. Unless I can get it working in RetroArch. So let's try that real quick, and then we'll go on and try the TV and see how it does with some of the other stuff. All right, so let me go load up another core here. And I think what's happening with RetroArch is that I got to push the button on the controller first, and that will, there we go. So I'm going to go and install or download a core. And let's see if we can find Dreamcast. I'm pretty sure they have a Dreamcast core on here. Yeah, just that one, Naomi. All right, so then we'll go load core, load content. Ah. All right, let's see if we can get this to run. There we go. So this is Virtua Tennis. And we'll see if this little stick can handle that. Yeah, you hear the audio kind of breaking up already? Yeah. And this always is a little glitchy on Android to begin with. It's trying. I'll give you the full view here. It's running super slow. Yeah, so this is not quite playable. So we probably wouldn't recommend this for that. So there you go. Okay, so PlayStation. I guess we could try PlayStation real quick. We'll do PlayStation, then we'll hook it up to the home theater and see what we get out of that. But you know what's good is that this is like basic Android TV. There's nothing fancy about this thing. It's just working, which is good. And let's go and grab a PlayStation game real quick, and then we will move it over to the other thing in a second. Oops. And we'll try that out real quick. So I mean, if this was being sold in the $30 range, I think it'd be a pretty good value, right? I mean, it seems to work just fine. I mean, and it's doing better. It's kind of actually doing better than I expected, given that this only has a gig of RAM and not a lot. I mean, it's not a very robust device, but it feels pretty good to me. So we'll just download a quick PlayStation game. Now, obviously, if you're playing these games, you're going to quickly fill it up. Like, you could put the 8 and 16-bit games on here, no problem. But when you start loading up CD images and stuff, that's going to really tax you quite a bit. So let's go and just grab. I love Destruction Derby too. That's always one I like to play around with. So let's grab that one real quick. Let's grab the folder here, and we'll throw that on there. And somebody's working on an FPGA core for the PlayStation. So that's pretty neat. We'll see how that goes. Master Billy has it do it streaming video. Oh, that's fine streaming video. We did that a little bit earlier, so that works. We could try game streaming. We could try that out. I could do, I don't think, does it have, I wonder if we could put the NVIDIA, I don't think it supports that. So I think that's only on the Shield that they support. Let's take a look at that. We should look at that anyhow. GeForce Now is what I was thinking about, yeah. I doubt it has GeForce Now. But we could try... There's no reason why it couldn't have GeForce Now. I think it's just that NVIDIA is not releasing it on more than their own platform and the PC. I think. I could be wrong. Yeah, I don't see it on here. But we could put Moonlight on here. We could do that. Rainway's on here. Yeah, let me throw Rainway on. I've got my gaming laptop over there. I can hook it up real quick. Rainway's been fascinating to me. We played around with this a few weeks ago because we were doing a thing on Chromebooks. And what's neat about Rainway, so it works a lot like some of these other in-home game streaming things do, like Parsec, but they've got a really good HTML client that runs great on Chromebooks. So that was something that appealed to me because of that. So what I'm going to do real quick, if I can find my power adapter for this computer, is we'll hook up my gaming laptop. Where did its power adapter go? And we'll see if we can get one of these games to run on it real quick. So where did... Oh, it's over here. And I should hook it up to Ethernet just to get the best experience. I'm running out of room in this place. I had the place all cleaned up, and then I messed it all up again. That's just kind of the story of my life here. All right. Ugh. And I'm not going to do the ideal test, but we will hook it up over Rainway on Wi-Fi, and we'll see how that works. All right. Somebody saw my socks? Yeah, I have white socks on. Sue me. Okay, so we'll open this up real quick. Master Billy wants to know, this or the TiVo streaming stick? Well, I think it depends on what you need for connectivity or for resolution. So I have this is a 1080p stick. What I like about this so far is that it seems to be working pretty decently in that it's not adding any extra stuff. My complaints with the TiVo stick was the fact that the 4K at the time wasn't great. It was not switching HDR modes properly. We weren't getting lossless audio. But that, because this one is kind of like the budget stick, none of those things were things that I was looking for right now, because it is just a 1080p device. That will eventually be the budget offering. So it's not, you don't really, it's really hard to compare the two because this is not designed to compete with the TiVo stick because it isn't a 4K device. The TiVo stick, from what I understand, has gotten better. I do need to look at it again. Let me go into Rainway here. And it's downloading an update for Rainway on the laptop real quick. And I'm just going to do this all over Wi-Fi, so because I don't have an Ethernet connection available where I'm currently situated. I could probably plug Ethernet in over here. So I have an Ethernet going into the camera that we might use in a minute. I got a long cable here I could use. Let's run this from the wall over there. Bear with me, folks. Try a little game streaming. A little in-home game streaming, if you will. And I also got one of those shadow accounts. So we can try that out. All right, almost there. Okay, so we got this one hooked up. And now I need to go over to back over here. And I got to connect this to my Rainway accounts. And I have Moonlight also. I do use Moonlight. I just like Rainway. I think what I like about Rainway is the fact that it gives you access to the desktop as well. It's actually pretty slick. We could try Moonlight also. All right, so let me just get started with this real quick and get my account connected. And we'll get going. See how this works. Yeah, Moonlight's good if you got an NVIDIA-based machine, which I do have. Okay. All right, here we go. We're in. So now, and it's just loading in all the games that I've got on that computer. So let's do a quick one. I'll do a little No Man's Sky here. Why not? And now this is the desktop of that Windows machine that we're connected to. And I got to log into my Steam account. There we go. And we should get going there. So yeah, I'm going to do a video on Shadow very shortly because I've been playing with it. What I like about Shadow, oh, it's downloading an update, of course it is. What I like about Shadow is that it's giving you a Windows 10 installation in the cloud, and it's super simple. And what I've been finding is that it's useful for more than just games because it's running Windows. You can install whatever you want on it. So we've been playing around. I got to go back into it and do it. I think this week I'll probably do something on it. I put in, what did I install on it? I installed vMix, actually the software that I use to do this stuff, all my production. I installed that on there. I had 4 inbound video calls. I was doing all these overlays and picture, and it was working really well. I mean, it's not as powerful as what I have on my desk here, but it was doing, it was able to do everything that I normally do here in the studio remotely. So what's been happening a lot, I've been following some of these streaming people. There's been a lot of discussion about running these streaming software in the cloud, because nobody's at a studio right now, including the people that are operating. So vMix has a great feature called vMix Call, which is like its own version of Skype, but it's much more reliable. So somebody just needs a web browser and a camera, and you can bring them in as a video input. It works great. We've done some interviews with vMix Call already on the channel. It's been really, really good. So yeah, Steam Link. If this works, Steam Link will work just as well because they're all using the same protocols here, and we're just waiting for this update. But Steam Link will work fine. If this works, Steam Link will work. And actually, I have no reason to think this won't work. The advantage, to some degree, perhaps, of using an Android TV device is that the game controller support might be a little better. Like I said, I like Rainway a lot because it's useful, kind of like Shadow. It's kind of useful for more than just game playing because you can mirror the whole desktop. So one of the things that we're contemplating for Jake for editing, because right now what I'm doing is I'm sending him proxy files, which take a while. But if I could have him come in on a very low latency connection to his Mac over there and just edit remotely through a stream, that might be more efficient. I haven't started that project just because the sorry, I'm just trying to get this to start here. I haven't started that project just because my upstream is so unreliable at the moment. But hopefully, when we get our new connection, that will work better. All right, so why is this not launching here? Use your gamepad, game scaling. So we got a good connection here. At least it looks like I do. Here it goes. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, something just got disconnected over there. So we just got knocked off of that. You know what? Let's simplify this and go with the Moonlight option. What do you think? Well, so much for Rainway. Whoa, that like totally crashed on us. Let me go see what's going on over there. It looks like Rainway just like crashed on us here. Yeah, bear with me one more second here, folks. Yeah, Rainway was the culprit this time, so let's try this one more time. Let's try that again. My only complaint with Rainway at the moment is that it, is that it doesn't have two-factor authentication, which is a big issue. So I only run it when I'm about to pop in, if I'm going to use it at all, and then I close it out. So we'll try Moonlight in a second if this doesn't work. I thought this would be faster than Moonlight, but I was incorrect. These are all VR games that I play on that laptop, so that's what you're seeing there. All right, play now. Okay. Oh, now Steam is updating? Seriously? So I haven't played a game on this laptop in about a month, and so here's what happens, right? So hang on a second. Now it wants me to log in again. I wonder if that whole computer just reset because it was... All right, now it's attempting to load up again. But what you're seeing here is the desktop being streamed over, and that's why I kind of like whatever this is, Rainway. Thank you, Darth, for the kind comments there. Any thought on this is from Eric Contreras. Any thought on the move to essentially renting gaming hardware? Yeah, I think it's going to vary. I think what's going to happen is consumers will will flock to whatever that best meets their needs. So I can see there definitely being a market for renting hardware. And I think we'll see, we're seeing things like Shadow, we're seeing things like Microsoft's cloud services are going to be part of Xbox's Game Pass, which I think is a tremendous value. And if people like doing that, I think it'll be a thing. But I think to some degree, there's going to be people that want their own hardware, competitive gamers especially, just from input lag. And you cannot, the input lag is going to be something that's really difficult to overcome because there's physics involved here, just how long it takes for the traffic to get routed. Yeah, let's wait for it to catch up here. Now, I'm doing this over Wi-Fi. Let me get back into my ship here because it looks like it's going to be... so it looks okay. Part of what I'm experiencing here, I think, is the fact that I'm pushing a really high res. Let me see if I can pull up the... because you're over Wi-Fi on this, and I'm pushing like a super... because I'm not getting a good frame rate, but I don't think that's the fault of the hardware. I think what we're looking at here is the fault of the Wi-Fi connection and what I'm pushing from Rainway at the moment. So let's go and just quit real quick here. And see if we can adjust some settings. Oops. I've been playing on the Switch for so much that I'm getting my fingers messed up for which things are what. Because on the Switch, if you want to do something, it's this button, but on most other platforms, it's that. All right. Yeah, this is like very problematic. All right, let's try Moonlight real quick. Probably should have started there, right? So we'll go back out and we'll try Moonlight real quick. And my guess on what you just saw there was the fact that we're doing this over Wi-Fi. I think for high quality game streaming, in-home or out-of-home, whichever you decide to use, you really want to get your device on Ethernet, and that's something you can't do with the stick. You can sort of do it with the Mi Box, the regular Mi Box, but you need to hook up a USB connection to make it all work. And I think if you're getting into game streaming and you want to do a lot of that kind of stuff, the NVIDIA Shield is really the way to go for some of these things because it is very much an integrated solution. And what we're going to be doing with Moonlight here real quick is kind of a hack of that. So let's do a quick search here. Wow, we've been going at this for 2 hours already. So this is what goes into trying to figure out whether stuff is good or not, is kind of messing with stuff a little bit. All right, so let's do Moonlight. Now, Moonlight kind of replicates the NVIDIA in-home thing as part of NVIDIA Shield's GeForce Now. Or not GeForce Now, whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. But I might have to go and reconfigure something on the PC over there. Let's see. So I may not see it because I had to turn Game Stream off. Oh, I did find it. Okay. So I got to go over there and type in a code. So let me do that real quick. And this one might work a little bit better. And we should see. Yeah, there we go. Now what's neat about how this works is that it'll basically reconfigure the game for that session, which is really cool. And so it looks as though it just turned down the resolution to 720p, didn't it? Even though we're running at 1080 on the device. Erica's wondering if there's any way to use Ethernet on the Mi Stick. I don't believe so. Unless they support, I have to find it. I have a cable that does like the split on the OTG connections. But I don't know if this is, like, if you want to go that route, this is not for you. I think this thing is really, this is really a streaming device. That's what this is for. And it looks like Moonlight is freezing up on us here. What's going on here? Let me go see what's happening on the computer. And by the way, this is kind of like a normal experience for, see, it's not streaming right now. You know what it could be? I bet you it's conflicting with, Rainway, which is still running. So let's close that out real quick. Okay, let's try it again. All right, we'll try this one more time here. Yeah, the sticks, as Master Billy says, the sticks are good for traveling, which I would agree with. And you have to struggle with hotel Wi-Fi. So if you if you have like a hotel Wi-Fi you have to log into, you're going to run into trouble with that also. This is odd though. Rainway doesn't seem to be, Moonlight doesn't seem to be working. Like I'm not getting any video. So, So Jasper wants us to test high bitrate H.264. We did do that earlier. We did some Blu-ray MKVs on Plex, and that worked. And we're actually going to we're going to have to play a little bit more with the game streaming here. It doesn't seem to be a good experience so far. What we're going to do now, though, is I'm going to shut it down, and we're going to move it over to the TV because I want to see what kind of lossless audio we can get out of those Blu-ray MKVs. So let's see, is there a shutdown on this thing or we just power it off? I think we just power it off. So let's move it over there. So I'm going to disconnect it here, and we're going to switch over to our other camera that is on the TV over there. And it's a little blurry, so we're going to fix that in a second. I'm going to turn the TV on with my Roku app. So let me pull the remote up here, and I'm going to hit the power button. And that's going to power the TV on, and that should focus the camera here when it comes up. Let's see. There it goes. All right. So now we're going to take this little guy and plug it in on the TV over there. So let's do that real quick. And yeah, I'm going to walk in front of the camera. And we've got an HDMI port here, and we have a USB port that I'm just going to plug this into. So I'm going to have the TV power the stick just to see what we get. And what I'm curious about also, because we're kind of like, this thing's like getting stuck in the back of the TV, is what the Wi-Fi connectivity is going to look like. Because one of the things that Roku did with their stick is they built the antenna into the power cable, so you had an antenna that was kind of out from the side of the television. This does not have that same flexibility. So we'll have to see how this goes. All right, so now it looks as though I got to find the HDMI port that this is connected to. Oh, you know what I need to do actually? I plugged it into the wrong thing. I got to plug it into the receiver because I want to see how this works with lossless audio. So let's pull it out of the TV here for a second. Oh boy, it's really stuck in there. All right, and we're going to have to come up with a different power strategy here. Hello. So bear with me here. I got to get under the thing. So I'm going to put it into input number 4 down here. And again, it's kind of like buried in the back of the thing here. And I got to find a USB power adapter. So let me do that real quick. And then we'll try this last thing out here. And what I'm going to do is just grab where'd it go? I got a bunch of USB adapters here. This one will work. So this one is a 5 volt, 1.5 amp, should be fine. So let's plug this in real quick and see what we get. Okay. So now I'm going to turn the receiver to input number 4. And I think we should be able to turn the TV to input 1, which is the receiver. Yep, that looks like it is it. And we should see, here it comes. So it's sacrilege, we're running Android TV on a Roku TV, but you can. Leonardo Carvello wants to know if it supports H.265. I am pretty sure these do. Most of the cheaper Android boxes do, even this one. And pardon the focus, everybody. We're just trying to get things set up here. And I will have to probably manually focus that camera. Where did my remote go for the camera? Because I can actually control this camera from where I am seated. So this is one of these pan tilt zoom cameras. I can zoom it in remotely. And it's just struggling with getting a good image. But we'll correct that in a minute. All right, so I'm going to go and just, oh, you know what? I got to use this remote. So let's go over to Plex. And we'll get Plex going on it. And I'll try to figure out how to improve the image quality on here. The TV is really bright, and I think that's throwing the camera off. See how it's like really struggling to keep focus. So I think what I'll do is start manually focusing. If I can get it to respond to my command here. So manual, far, near. Here we go. There we go. Okay, it's good enough. All right, so I'm going to just load in my Plex account. Now, on Plex, you want to do a couple things. We want to go into the settings. I'm just waiting for it to load up here. And I'm wondering, too, when this thing's like tucked behind a thing. Oop, it just crashed. Hang on a second. Let's go up to... I got to go and just adjust the settings. On Plex, what you want to do is go into your settings, and I'll show you what I'm looking at here in a second. I got to get to the right settings screen here. There we go. They keep moving stuff on me. So what we want to do is to set up a couple of things. The first is the audio pass-through, if it supports that. So we're going to enable pass-through. And we're going to do that. So what that's going to do is automatically pass the audio through the HDMI. So if we have a DTS HD feed, that should do that. The other thing that I want to do is switch the resolution, the refresh rate. I'm going to turn that on. And resolution switching on this one I'm not going to do, but you could have it if you had like a 1080p movie on a 4K display. You could have it tune the TV to 1080p if you wanted to. So we're going to do those two things. And now what I want to do is, let me go find a film that has some DTS HD on it. And I've got a lot of organization to do in my Plex account because I got too much stuff. And I will say, as much as I like their free offerings, it's confusing because they call it the same as the other stuff that you have. And let's go in and just find something that I know is a regular 1080p stream. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm just looking through my library here. So these are all like Blu-ray MKVs that I've got. But I've got a bunch of stuff now that's 4K, so I'm trying to figure out. Let me go into the folder view. So I just want to grab a regular 1080p one because that's a better example. Here, let's do, oh yeah, we'll do Independence Day real quick. Because I think that's a DTS HD film. And we're going to have that load up. And let's see how long it takes. So right now this thing is tucked behind the receiver. And it is a DTS, perfect. So this is a DTS HD, so we'll see if it supports lossless pass-through when I go and play this. Not the best movie. The original was better. This could have been better, like had Will Smith done it. You know what I mean? Like they could have made it better. So now this is doing what I expected it to do back there, because now you're not getting a pristine Wi-Fi signal when you're tucked behind something. And this is running Android 9 in case anybody's curious. Yeah, so this is more what the experience is going to be if you're trying to do Blu-ray MKVs. So we had it set up before where it was in direct shot of that Wi-Fi access point in the ceiling, and I didn't move it that much further over, but now it's behind stuff, right? So you're tucked in the corner, you got the wall, you got the receiver. You know, before it played back that Blu-ray super quick, but now look at it, it's like stuck. It's gonna start, but it's gonna take a while. Now what I want to do is pan the camera down real quick and see. Yes, so far it hasn't. I was looking on the display for the receiver to see if it was reporting DTS or not. We'll wait for it to start up here. But that's the difference. So I'll even go back and I'll play the movie that we played before that worked. And let's see if that changes anything. But this is running Android 9 in case anybody's curious. And this is the problem with Wi-Fi, is that you saw, like right here it was fine, but over there behind the TV, not so good, right? So this is the kind of stuff that you deal with when you're playing with. All right, so batteries not included was what we played before. And this is also a DTS HD film. Remember, it started up like super fast, and this is, I'm pretty sure this is the Blu-ray MKV file. Let me see if I have like info on the file. I'm pretty sure this is an MKV. Because it's got the DTS HD soundtrack on it. You wouldn't typically have that on a non-MKV. I own the movie, by the way. I think I ripped this one myself. All right, so we're going to let this play. Let's see if this starts up any quicker. I'm just taking it off because of the copyright stuff. But remember, this started up like super fast before. Now look at it. Totally different scenario. And so this is what you will experience. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that this is the kind of media that is not designed to work over Wi-Fi. You know, these are basically rips from a disk. So if I were to hop into YouTube right now, this would be a different story. So let's do that real quick. Let's let that finish whatever it's doing here. So let's go back. And yeah, so let's go and look at something on Netflix just to show you the difference of something that's designed to work that way. So if I go over to Netflix, and I'll just go and load up the Star Trek episode we were playing before. Pardon the oversaturation here. It'll even out in a second. Where did it go? I'm sitting at my desk across the room here trying to get this to work. There it is. Okay, so if I hit that and I resume it, it's just going to start right up, because this is a much lower bit rate coming in over the internet. No problem. But it's the Blu-ray MKVs that have a ton of data. So now let's go look at the HD Home Run app. And so this is going to be important for the review, because for the review, most people are not going to have a pristine Wi-Fi connection. They're going to be sticking this thing behind their television. It's going to be fine for Netflix and whatever, especially at 1080p. You might have a little bit of extra buffering at the outset, but it'll work. But now if we go into the HD Home Run, again, this is not a scenario that works well for, hang on, let me just jump into it. It doesn't work well for non-wired connections. You'll see that it will not play back all that smoothly. And I'm being very careful because there's sports on TV right now, and they get super crazy with copyright on that stuff. So let's pull up the channel guide here. I'll see if there's something I can watch quickly here. This is PGA Golf, always gets you in trouble. And all right, so here's an ESPN thing running. Actually, it doesn't seem to be doing too bad. This is over the air, so that's working better than the Plex stuff did. So I was surprised by that. And locally here where I am, you know, this is coming in over my cable system through the HD Home Run, but they just pass through the MPEG too. So this is actually working okay. Surprisingly so. Because usually you'd see it like totally breaking up and not run smoothly. So that's not bad. Okay, so wonder what's going on with Plex now. Because if Plex was doing that, we shouldn't have seen HD Home Run work as well as it just did. So gay LGS, yeah, this is probably not going to be, and here's my cutoff for recommending something as a Plex or MB client. I am a big proponent of direct wired Ethernet for home theater applications. And if the device doesn't have a way of supporting Ethernet like this one doesn't, it's not good for that. This is good for, and it'll work perhaps, it just depends on your situation that you're going to find yourself in. So let's try the Plex one more time. Now before, we were probably transcoding audio. Now we're telling it to do the pass-through on the audio, and that could be what's throwing this thing off. So let me go back to my home screen here and just continue what we were watching a second ago. But it's always hit or miss. And that's the hard part about reviewing this stuff, is that depending on the Wi-Fi connection of the viewer, that's going to vary, right? Everyone's going to have a different experience with this stuff. And Ken says agreed, especially for 4K. Absolutely. Like 4K, forget it. Some of the 4K content, especially the Blu-ray rips, will be running at over 100 megabits per second. Some of those movies have that high a bit rate, H.265. So you're going to be really stuck. Ken got an HD home run with a cable card. You're all set. Those are hard to find. Ed H says, do you think it's a good idea to wait for the next HD home run? Well, I don't know what the status of the 6 tuner is going to be. So if you can find a 4 tuner used, I would get that one now, just to have it. But yeah, you're right. 1 gig of RAM and 8 gigs of storage. That's it. But this is not, this thing is the entry point. They're probably going to be introducing this at around a $30 or $40 price tag. I paid a lot more for it just because I think I must have imported it from Europe. But this will be the entry point, and it probably will be the least expensive Android TV box you can buy from a name brand, and that's going to have some value, I think. But you can get their 4K one, and if you're watching on Amazon, I will put it up right now. It looks like they're selling for like 40 or 50 bucks, 60 bucks. So you can get the 4K one, which is a little better than this one. But even that one doesn't have Ethernet. You got to get some USB thing dialed into it to make it work. But yeah, it's not working at all now. I suspect that might be due to the pass-through audio. So if I turn the pass-through off, let's try that real quick. If I turn pass-through off, it might start working, and that might be what the deal is there. And I've started using I've been transitioning a lot of my media over to 4K stuff, so that could be part of it too. I'm not running the 4K here, but like I wouldn't use this for Plex at all in my house. All right, so let's turn pass-through off, and let's see if it works better now that we've got that going. So let's try that now. And let's resume it. And let's see if that works now that I turn pass-through off. And now it's going to transcode the audio and pass the video through. Master Billy wants to know what I thought of the ATSC 3.0 unit from HD Home Run. Well, I haven't actually held one in my possession, but we did do that interview with them. I think it's great. I just don't have ATSC 3 broadcasters where I am. So, but I think they should be shipping them pretty soon. And those will be available to buy shortly. So I would, if you could wait for it, you should, because ATSC 3 will happen over the course of the next year or two. So I suspect, all right, so it didn't work there either. I suspect what's happening, let's try one more thing. We're going to turn off the refresh rate setting and see if that changes the dynamic here. So let's go over to I'm just trying to troubleshoot this. So refresh rate switching, we're going to turn that off. And let's see what happens. Now that's a big one for me because I turn off refresh rate settings, or I turn on refresh rate switching because most of the movies that you watch are shot at 24 frames per second. Your television, most of the new ones, and most of the older ones now, because it's been going on for a while, try to do this motion interpolation stuff to bring everything up to 60 or 120 hertz. It looks like garbage. Like you want 24p content to go to the TV at 24p. Full stop. That is my requirement. So I watch my movies the way they were shot, 24 frames per second, if that's what the video file calls for. It's just so odd this thing is not working now that it's in the corner over there. So that's with the refresh rate off. Yeah, we'll have to experiment a little bit more with this. Now, I was not expecting this to be good for Plex. Oh, there it goes. Now it's working. Okay, so it looks like the box here, and I just cut away quickly to prevent copyright issues. It looks to me as though the box doesn't like the refresh rate shifting, and for me, for home theater, that's a big deal because now it's playing fine. I'm watching it right now. Here, you can take a quick look. I want the box to switch to 24p. If it doesn't do that, which is what the issue was here, the movies look like a soap opera. So I'm watching it right now, and it just looks like it was shot on videotape. It shouldn't look like that. But that's the only issue I found with this so far. So, I mean, it's basic transportation. I think it's good for Netflix and Prime Video and the stuff it's designed for. So, so refresh rate shifting does not work on this. But let's try one more thing, because now that we know we can get the video started, I'm curious if it can do the audio pass-through. So we're going to go back into Plex, and I'm going to turn the audio pass-through back on. And let's see if we get the right audio over to the receiver. And we'll take a look at the receiver settings for that. Fortnite says, if a 4K TV already has Roku with Wi-Fi built in, do we need to buy? No, I think you probably missed my diatribe at the outset. You buy one of these sticks when your TV stops getting updated. That's really the market now for these. If you have a TV that there it goes, that doesn't get updated apps, there's actually a bunch of televisions that have Netflix on it but can't play any of the Netflix content anymore because they changed their DRM on it. So if your TV is not working with all the latest stuff, if you can't get Disney Plus and Peacock and all the other stuff you want to watch, then one of these boxes makes a lot of sense, especially the lower cost ones. So when this one eventually becomes available on a broader scale worldwide, I think you'll find that, I'm setting the pass-through setting here to DTS HD. You will find that these boxes are really helpful for that. But if you have all the apps you need on your TV, you don't need a box. But let's say, in this case, because I have a Roku TV over there that we're playing with right now, let's say that you want to play some emulation on that TV, or you want to do something that your Roku can't do, then maybe you look at one of these things. But I would not get the stick for higher-end Android tasks because it's only got a gig of RAM on it. It's really pretty minimal. All right, so let me go back out real quick, and we're going to start the movie again. And what I'm going to look for now on this is whether or not it's going to pass through the DTS HD audio. And the way we can detect that is by pulling up I'm just going to move my camera position here a little bit. I'm going to pull up my settings for the receiver. I'm just adjusting the camera position. And let's pull those settings up, and we'll be able to see. I have to walk over there for a second. We're going to see exactly what it's getting. So let me pull up the receiver here, and I can go into my option menu. And we're going to go to signal info. And I'll pull this up for you in a second so you can see what we're looking at. Yeah, so as expected, let me get the focus better here. And I'm actually going to record this real quick. So as you can see here, we are getting 1080p in, but we should have been getting 24p there. But we're not getting the DTS HD audio, so it's not doing the pass-through either. So we're getting transcoded audio, I think. Or no audio at all. I don't have the TV on. Actually, we are not getting any audio. Nope, we're not getting any audio. So even though it says it's getting something. So what this means is that we're not getting the 24p, and we're also not getting the pass-through audio there. So not good for home theater. Didn't expect it to be. It is going to be a good secondary device. So there you go. All right, let me take a couple questions here, and then I got to call it quits because it's already 4 o'clock. My goodness. This day is flying by. Yeah, so no audio pass-through, no refresh rate shifting, and it is not working good there. So Andrew has a Ugreen adapter with wired. Okay, let's try it. Let's take a look at that real quick. Yeah, I got to see if there's a way we can get some of that going. Oh, cool. They've got, here, let me pull this up for everybody. I'll show you what it looks like. I may just buy one of these just to have it, because if it supports, give me 1 second, folks. I'll show you exactly what I'm looking at here, which might be of use to all of you. And just clean out some stuff here. So this one right here is what he's recommending we look at. This is, well, that's cool. So it's got the, so I'm guessing it must have a power pass-through. Let's take a look at what it can do here. Yeah, this might work with it. Oh, I see. Yeah, that could work. Let me get one of these just to try it. This would be really useful because I could see this being super helpful. So I'll get one of these, and I will add this to the product carousel on Amazon, so you can see what I'm looking at, because this might be super useful. It looks like it works with the Fire TV stick, so we could try it out with that. And I'll add it right now, and then I will order one because that might really be helpful. And what I found over the years is that I have like just a whole bunch of doodads kicking around for, there's always, it's funny too, like there's things that I always need to get or have to test something, and this is going to be one of those devices. So we're going to do that. Looks like you get a 5% coupon right now as well, so I'm going to buy one of these things right here. We'll get it in here in a couple days, and we'll see if it works with it. Maybe do a follow-up video on there. And yeah, good stuff. All right. Let's see what else we got for questions. Then I gotta call it quits here. Yeah. So Guy LJS brings up a really good point about the NVIDIA Shield. It is really the only decent home theater device right now. It is better than home theater PCs. It is better than any other device out there. Apple TV, I would say, is a close second to some degree, but on the Apple TV, you don't have all the pass-through capabilities that the Shield has. So if you are storing 4K Blu-rays on a server, the NVIDIA Shield really is your only option there. It's really it. So absolutely. All right, I got that adapter ordered. So thank you for the suggestion. That's going to help out a lot. That is from Andrew. Thank you for suggesting that. It is ordered and on the way. But I like the Apple TV also. It's a really good machine. And the new NVIDIA Shield supports Dolby Vision as well. Absolutely. I will say though, I'm using on my LG TV, with the exception of the Apple TV Plus stuff, for the streaming content, I've just been using the TV's interface just because it's easier to turn the TV on as opposed, because I have my NVIDIA Shield is hooked up to the receiver, so I go through this whole process. It's easier sometimes just to push the button on the TV to get everything going there. So good stuff. All right, well, everybody, I am going to call it a day. I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching me tinker with another device. As you know, my reviews are much more concise than my streams are because this is what we do before we shoot the review. And it's fun to involve you all with that. So a lot of times people write in thinking, what did I just watch? It was so disjointed because this is how the sausage gets made, as they say. But the full review we'll shoot probably Monday or Tuesday, tomorrow or Tuesday, and we'll have something up a little bit later. I want to thank Eric's Variety Channel and also One Bag Travel for your super chat contributions today. And I appreciate that. Okay. And that's going to do it. Yeah, I'll check out Powell switching it manually to 24 hertz. And I don't think I have it. Yeah, I don't have the camera connected there. Let's see if it's still on. I don't think it is. Yeah, let's try that real quick. We'll just do a quick attempt to get that going. So let me pull it back out here and see if we can adjust things. It's going to get the camera position. This is my PTZ optics camera. It's a great camera that I can control from across the room, which is really helpful, right? So we can zoom out here a little bit. We'll do a little focus. There we go. And what I'll do is just jump into the settings real quick and just see if we can even manually set it to 24p. It could just be that it doesn't support 24p. So let me go in there and go to oops, wrong one. Go to display. And if I go to screen resolution, oh, okay. So yeah, we could put it manually. But I want these, see, my measurement is I want it to be able to jump into 24 hertz automatically when asked for. And that's something, again, my Shield does. And in fairness to the Shield, it did not do that initially when it first came out, but it later did that. They added that feature to it. So, good stuff. Master Billy wants to know if I saw the JPL panel at Comic-Con. I did not. I have a lot of Comic-Con panels that I'm probably going to watch this week, so I'm going to have to tune into those on YouTube. Top tier scientist. I need to get a MacBook for my girl. She won't let me buy an old one. Should I buy a new one now or should I wait? My advice right now is to wait on MacBooks. And I know some people get angry when I suggest that, but they're about to switch everything over to their own chips. And I think if you're going to spend that much money on a laptop, I would not buy an Intel one from them right now, just because they're going to completely change everything. And it's just a matter of time before they do that. They'll support Intel for a little while, but I'm in this conundrum right now because, so here's where we're at. When we upgrade the connection, I could upgrade 4K. I could start doing 4K video. Everything I need to do 4K, I just haven't done it because it takes so long to upload everything. So if I were to do that, I need to upgrade Jake's laptop. So what I would do is give him the one I'm currently using and get another MacBook. 'Cause I edit exclusively on Final Cut Pro because it's so efficient. But now I'm like, what do I do? Because I could buy the new 16-inch MacBook Pro, which will certainly work great, but it's, I'm not going to get the longevity out of it. That's my concern. So we'll have to see what happens. But I was going to replace the little one on my desk here. So I think what I'll do is, it looks like the first ARM Mac is going to be a MacBook Air. So I'll swap out my 12-inch MacBook for that, and then, we'll see what happens. But, it's one of those things. It also comes down to what do you need right now? And typically what I would say to people in a world where you knew that they weren't going to change the whole hardware platform, I would say if you need a MacBook now, get a MacBook and just get the most powerful one you can afford, and that will give you as much time as possible. And a good example of that is the laptop that Jake is using. It is it's over 8 years old. And I bought the most powerful one I could afford at the time. And it cost me a fortune, but 8 years later, we are still using it every day. And that laptop, just to put it in perspective, that laptop has been in service every day for 8 years. I mean, it's still going. It's got the original battery, original SSD. It's working. And I've edited, probably about the first 3 years of the channel, 4 years of the channel on that thing. He's editing all the stuff I'm doing now. It just can't do 4K. So that's the issue. Ezra Gertz, what's my view on the second Oculus Quest? I think it's great. I hope it's more powerful. I hope, though, I mean, there's a lot of people that are first getting the original one. So I just hope that they can keep, the software will still be available for people with the original. So we'll have to see. Ken says I should check out DaVinci. I'm hearing a lot of good things about DaVinci Resolve, and I have installed it, so I do want to play with it, and it's on my list of things to look at. I'm just such a creature of habit that it's hard to change. But one of the things that I noticed on it when I installed it was that it does have like a Final Cut Pro mode to ease the transition. Because yeah, if I could go start working off of PCs, it would certainly be a little bit more simplified. But I'm finding it's funny. I like the Mac, but when I really think about it, like what's keeping me on the Mac right now mostly is Final Cut Pro. And I would say secondarily the integration with the iPhone, the photo integration for the family is really, really good. So that stuff is useful. And my wife likes the Mac. We just like the Mac, but Windows has become much more competitive. And what's amazing to me is I recently switched from the TriCaster to my own vMix server for doing video production. And I am impressed by just how well this works, Windows 10 as a real-time production workflow. There's nothing, I mean, there's some stuff out there for the Mac, but not nearly as good as vMix is. It's really good. Plylish wants to know my best views on the best budget laptop. What have we looked at lately? I think if you're looking for a good budget laptop, you're going to want an AMD Ryzen-based machine. There's one from Acer for $349. If you go on, I'm not sure if you're in the US or not, but if you go on Amazon and just look for the top laptop, the Acer is the best for the money. $349, super awesome performance, good for gaming to some degree as well. It's really good. And I think, so I would look at one of those Ryzen-based laptops. You'll really be happy with those for the money, for sure. Ezra wants to know, do I have a Raspberry Pi 4? I do. In fact, I think I did a review of one when it came out. I have to come back to it, though, because when I reviewed it, there wasn't a lot available for it because everybody was surprised that it came out at all because nobody knew it was coming. So all the open source projects had to scramble to try to catch up. So it's been a year, and I think they're finally, like the emulation thing, RetroPie is finally supporting the 4, and it was an interview with the Raspberry Pi people, and they were even surprised by how fast they were able to develop it. They were figuring they would have a number of cycles to go through, and they kind of nailed it on like the first or second try, so then they just released it. That was kind of the path they took. Recipe Bob's running Twister OS. I got to see what some of the other OSs are on there too. Top Tier says people are cooking food on AMD Ryzen, literally. Yeah, some of these chips run hot, for sure. Yeah, they have an 8 GB Pi now, too, right? They've increased the RAM. So, yeah, good stuff. All right, everybody. I got to head out because I have to go walk the dog again. And my mother-in-law is cooking dinner, so I got to get ready for that. Always good when you get a free meal, so I'm going to go take advantage of that. And I thank you all for tuning in. We're going to have a full review of this soon, so stay tuned. You'll be able to get a much more concise overview of this. I'm going to say goodbye to the Amazon folks. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to now say goodbye to all of you folks on YouTube. Thanks for bearing with me with the upload problems we had as well. The constant issue. It seems to be working okay now, but hopefully within about a month or two, maybe 2 months, we'll have a much faster connection, and that will be met with much fanfare, for me at least. So, cool, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you all. Bye.